All right, good morning. Today is Saturday, February 7th. The time is 8:02 a.m. We're here for the council retreat with the Coppell City Council. We do have a quorum present, so I'm calling the meeting to order. We are convening into executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will announce open work session, at which time the public will be invited and encouraged to join us. Item number 2 is our executive session. So we're entering into executive session at 8:03 a.m. We're going to discuss section 1087, Texas Government Code, Economic Development Negotiations with Ms. Mindy Hurley. Mindy? a.m. We're gonna move into work session, open work session for the Coppell City Council. Item number 4 is citizens appearance. Do we have anybody that signed up for citizens appearance?
Sir.
We do not, so we will skip over item 4 and the reading of the legal stuff. And move on to item number 5, which is a discussion regarding Old Town Coppell. That's to be presented by Miss Mindy Hurley. Mindy?
You want me to go ahead?
Where is Joan?
Don's right behind.
We got a quorum. We had a quorum.
He's walking in.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council. We are here today just to give you a quick update on progress being made in Old Town Coppell, as well as to seek your input on a digital sign. So I'll start by showing you some aerials that you reviewed at your discussion about the boundaries of Old Town at a previous retreat. If you remember, Kent walked you through an exercise to help you identify what you believe to be the true boundaries of Old Town Coppell. Oh, sorry. Oh, thank you. Okay. This aerial shows the official boundary as it exists today. Then this aerial you saw before, it shows you the official boundaries today, highlighting what is the park and open space. Then at one of your previous retreats, then it was broken into different segments to kind of show you the different segments within the official boundaries today. And then finally, this slide represents what city councils or what staff heard city council say that they felt should be the boundaries of Old Town Coppell, represented in blue. And then the red was included because staff also heard some interest during your previous discussion about expanding the boundaries to the south and to the west, north to front Freeport Parkway. And now I'm just going to provide you, I don't know if you need a minute to look at that. Or is everybody good to go? Okay. So now I'll provide you with some updates on things that are happening in Old Town Coppell. So as requested, we did provide an opportunity for the current businesses in Old Town Coppell to provide feedback on things they wanted to see in the area. That was a request. And so we did not hear back from every business, but for those that we did hear back from, there were a few common themes. And those themes were streetscape amenities such as trash cans, benches, bike racks, and tables, increased landscaping, pedestrian safety, parking, and more activation. So 20 trash receptacles, 2 benches, and 8 bike racks have been ordered to match the existing amenities that are out there today. Those were ordered through Victor Stanley, which is the provider for this specific set of amenities. And so those we are hoping should be delivered and in place by this spring. And then I don't have a picture for some of these following items, but our Enterprise Solutions Department is reviewing different options for parking counters right now. So the parking counters are kind of our interim solution because we think that will help guide people to available parking, because we do believe there is ample parking today. It just may not be visible to everyone. So those parking counters will help guide people to available parking, but it will also help to guide staff when we evaluate the need for additional parking in the future. And then our Public Works Department is currently reviewing options to help with pedestrian crosswalks in the area to enhance the walkability. So we'll see more on that coming forward. And then finally, our Community Experiences team has been evaluating options to increase landscaping where possible, and they're continuing to assess the best option for long-term maintenance of that landscaping.
What physically is a parking counter?
I'm going to let Kent chime in on this.
So this would be a camera-based solution. And so it essentially would track the available spaces at any given time and then inform, kind of like at the airport, when you pull into a garage, it tells you, hey, there's spaces this way, that way. That would be the idea. So it would be the available spaces would be displayed on some signage that would be installed, as well as it could be loaded into an app. So it could be map based with an app. So if you're going down there before you arrive, well, where do I need to park? You could do that. So the company we use for all of our security cameras, they have a solution. So we're talking to a couple of vendors. We're focusing on a camera based solution.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then for activation, the city is looking at the events that are currently taking place, as well as potentially adding some additional events that could happen. So as you all know, we currently have several events going on, such as Sunset Socials, the Old Town Anniversary Celebration, Kaleidoscope, Scare in the Square, and Vintage Christmas. And then staff is looking at adding a few events this year. So one will be a graduation bash. So this event will be open to the community, but will also honor all the students that are graduating to their next chapter. So this will be a band and food trucks in Old Town on April 11th to celebrate these students, their families, and the rest of the community. So fifth graders leaving elementary school, eighth graders leaving middle school, and then obviously graduating seniors from high school will all receive a voucher to get a free meal from the food trucks that are down there. And basically it will just be celebrating them. And this will replace, as you know, we've done the graduation sign scavenger hunt in the past. This is actually going to take the place of that event going forward. Then we've got Fun Food and Groups. So we did this last spring, so it's coming back, and it will take place 2 Fridays during the month of May.
I just said it's guaranteed to rain.
Yeah, you're welcome. We did almost everyone we did last time. It did rain out. So, but this will take place 2 Fridays during the month of May. Once again, we'll have a band and then a number of smaller food trucks down there available to purchase food, and we'll have more information coming out about those soon. And then finally, staff is currently considering options for 1 or 2 regional events that will take place in Old Town Coppell. So these events will be designed to draw from a market that's larger than just Coppell in order to bring foot traffic, awareness, and to draw a larger crowd of people to support the businesses in the art center down there. So again, more information to come on that.
Kevin?
On the graduation bash, I know with the signs, I believe you coordinated with our local districts, the Coppell and the other districts surrounding, and then there was I think like a homeschool piece or
Yes.
like, so all that, is this basically like, are we still coordinating with the districts to get people those vouchers, or do they have to come to the city? Any detail? I'd be just curious.
Yeah. So we've already talked to the elementary schools and the middle schools about having them pass out the vouchers. I believe with the seniors that are
Use
gonna
tickets instead of vouchers, just because that word means
Yeah,
something
vouchers
now.
is very negative.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, a ticket.
Yeah, okay.
Basically a ticket.
Ticket's a great word.
Yes, I'm sorry. I will quit using voucher. I apologize. A ticket in order. We talked about if you've had kids and they got a state fair ticket
Yep.
sent home with them, that's basically what it's going to be for the fifth graders, the eighth graders. And then we're working on the best way for the seniors in high school. It's a little bit harder
Sure.
to distribute those. So we talked about if we just have a list where they come and pick it up so we can mark their name off. So
I know a lady that potentially lives in my house that's on the high school PTO.
Okay.
If you need any coordination connection, she might let that.
Wonderful. Okay.
Question. I know this discussion is focused on Old Town, and I love that we're doing different things to draw people there, and we're trying to fix the parking, because all of these events, especially a regional event, will create
Foot traffic.
foot traffic, but we also want to make sure people can park and all that good stuff. So, how does the number of event? I don't even know how to ask this question, but how does this compare to what we're doing also at like Andy Brown, other than like the big Christmas and the 4th of July? Like, if we don't have it, and or if I've missed it, I apologize, but I'd love to see like an overview for the year of activities throughout the community, so that we're engaging our different open spaces.
So I don't know the answer on how many events we do in Andy Brown. And are you talking about city sponsored specifically or, okay. So I don't know the answer to that. I will mention, one of the things we talked about is when it's at Andy Brown, it's really not benefiting any businesses. Correct. We still want to utilize the space, obviously. So those events are still going to take place. But part of the reason for activation down in Old Town is to draw people down to an area where then the businesses have exposure and can reap some benefit from that as well. So that is why we are looking at increasing some of the events in Old Town specifically. So, but I don't know off the top of my head. So we'll have to
We
get.
can look for community experiences.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and I know the overall intent of what we're trying to accomplish, and we also have all the activities of and the events that we're doing at the art center. I just kind of want to see how that looks, where we're not focusing in one area, not in another, and I don't know. I just again, I don't know how to ask that question, but I'd love to see the year in review of just
Maybe,
where we're at.
let me step in here too. So she talked about the businesses. So there's a quality of life component to this. There is an economic development component to this. So when she talked about the events down at Andy Brown, right? Because it's disconnected, if you will, from any of the commercial areas. That's the distinction. So in the philosophical standpoint, again, as far as your overall direction, I'll go ahead and bring the point up. We're using a word here that is typically not used in our past, and that is a regional event. And so I'm raising the issue because we kind of went kind of quietly by it, and it's like, well, wait, let's just back up for just a moment, because doing something regional is not something we normally do. And I am not talking about something on the level of Kaboom, yeah, Boomtown or well, right. We're not talking about that kind of stuff. But we are talking about expanding our reach and the way we market the event. So that will be different for a purpose on an economic development standpoint. So does that cause anybody any consternation?
So I've got 3 people who have raised their hand.
That much consternation? No.
No, that's before you brought up that. So
Okay.
Bijou,
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Mindy, I'm glad you are doing this in Old Town, bringing attention to that restaurants and economic developments there. We have 1,000 people graduates from high school. We have 1,000 from middle school and 1,000 from elementary school. Can we accommodate, or are we going to give tickets to all 3,000 people?
Yes, sir. Everyone that is advancing to the next chapter of education, I guess is the best way to say, they will receive a voucher. We understand we won't get all of those people to
Ticket,
show up.
yes.
So
And follow up to that is, since we are bringing this many people, or at least we assume that half of the people or 1/4 will show up, are we doing anything collaboration with the business, saying, hey, we are bringing this many people, do you want to give any goodies out, or do you advertise?
yes, sir. So we have already approached the Old Town Coppell businesses, but are about to extend it to all the other businesses in town in order to contribute to some type of goodie bag for, they have the option of what they want to do. If they just want to be out there for the exposure, or if they want to contribute something to hopefully incentivize them to come back to their business, we're fixed to that offer.
Are we even offering booths for other business to come and advertise their business?
Yeah, we will offer that up to them so that they can all have a table out there if they would like. We don't get a ton of people that want to do that when we've offered that in the past, but we are opening it up to them, but also giving them an opportunity to contribute something to a gift to those students.
Thank you.
okay, I have Ramesh and then Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. Piggybacking on what Councilmember Brianna was talking about and what Bridget was talking about, when we have those amazing events in Andy Brown, And given that they're away from our businesses and from a business economic developer standpoint, um, Mindy, can you share how do we communicate with our local businesses to come have booths when we have the July 5th event or many of the events? How do we communicate and do we have any tracking mechanism of how many local businesses are using that?
So we contact all of the businesses, so we have a database, so we contact all of the businesses and give them that opportunity to participate.
So is it, do we send out an email?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And is there any mechanism for tracking how many are using that and any feedback that they have on how we can improve that?
Well, I want to make sure when you say tracking, you mean those that actually
Mhm.
participate?
Right.
What we would just know
They're
who
the
participates.
But like, can we say in 2025, 20 businesses used it or 40?
Oh, I'm sorry, tracking back to you all.
Oh.
Okay, I thought I was just confused on what you meant by, I don't think we've ever done that before, but we can certainly keep track of that and let you all know.
And the reason I bring that up, Mindy, is we're doing amazing things for Old Town businesses. And we want to communicate to other businesses that we love them too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they have those opportunities and if they have any input, they should come to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we can keep track of that and let you know, so.
Thank you. Kevin.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, you're in charge now.
Oh, my.
Oh,
goodness.
it's okay. Oh. Orders her. Mike, directly to your consternation question.
I'm not constant, I don't
No,
have
no.
consternation.
Absolute opposite of consternation. I think that a regional event concentrated in the Old Town area to drive a regional crowd of people down to that area for economic development and an event is fantastic. I think this is something that is a long time coming. I'm excited to see it. I would I'll just post this. I would love to see Coppell find a niche in some sort of like annual regional event that I think about some of our neighbors around us. Like I heard Kaboom Town mentioned earlier, and we have with Main Street, the Christmas, the Christmas town or whatever over at Grapevine. If we could find a niche or something that would be kind of Coppell specific and would invite our neighbors around us in the region to come visit Old Town Coppell, I would highly encourage that and love to see that for our community and really, really bump up traffic counts and walk it, foot traffic and all that stuff in Old Town. I think that would be a big benefit for the area. So
Halloween. You'll take the current scare on the square and just.
Denton's got Halloween. but we'll find, whatever our identity is. I'm just encouraging that. I think that's fantastic. So Thanksgiving, opposite of consternation. Mayor Pro Tem, I yield my time.
Okay, you ready? Okay. Also for activation, staff previously presented to you the plan to install permanent hookups for food trucks around the east and south side of the square in Old Town Coppell. City Council asked to see an exhibit before proceeding with the project. So LJ Engineering is still working on the specific details of the project, but they've provided an exhibit just for you to view this morning. And so details will be finalized by staff as we go forward, but we just wanted to show you that cords will not be exposed to create a tripping hazard down there. Just so again, this was just the exhibit that we promised we would bring forward before any work being done. So that is still in the works. And then similarly, staff presented to you a concept for the activation of the vacant pad site located to the east of Twisted Route. While City Council did not provide direction to move forward with this development, staff is still considering options for the activation of that land. So we just wanted to let y'all know that we are still moving forward and working on plans for that land.
Mindy, hold on just real quick, because I need everybody to orientate themselves. So George is to the left, across the
Yes.
street. Twisted Root is to the bottom of the screen. You can see the shade for the playground to the right of the screen, which means the residences are to the up or the north of the screen. So that's for orientation purposes. So I got that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay. If nobody has any other questions, then I will now turn it over to Callie Willis to discuss our next slides.
Mayor and Council, I will be providing an overview of a special district and a phased approach for creating one. The phased process ensures that everyone has understanding of what a special district is, why it is being explored, and how we would bring decisions back to council over time. During our last discussion on Old Town, so this retreat last year, council provided direction to move forward to explore options addressing the alcohol policies that limit options in Old Town currently. Over the past year, staff has conducted legal and policy analysis, including review of zoning and local option constraints, TABC rules and city ordinances, and reviewed prior public input along with council direction. That public input indicated interest in an establishment in Old Town that could not happen with the current TABC rules while maintaining the city's broader limitations on alcohol sales outside of restaurants. With the assistance of the city attorney and legislative consultants, staff have explored potential tools for addressing this issue, and the most viable option identified to fit the specific parameters of an allowable establishment only permitted in Old Town without disrupting the current TABC rules across the rest of the city is pursuing a special district legislation. A special district is a state-authorized, place-based district that is limited to a defined geographical area initiated at the request of the city to carry out a specific public purpose. That's a lot of words, so I'm going to point out 3 main points within that definition. The first one is that this is state-authorized. The city cannot create this unilaterally. Rather, we would be drafting the special district legislation that we would take to our state legislators to file as a bill in the 90th legislative session. This is because TABC is a state agency, and so it would require the state enacting legislation for us to move forward with this. Second, it's place-based and geographically limited. So this would not be a citywide change, but rather it would be limited to an area clearly defined within the proposed district legislation. And third, constitutionally, special districts must serve a specific public purpose, such as economic development or supporting community vitality. This distinction matters because the intent is to explore enacting a narrowly tailored tool that could address the specific opportunity in Old Town without altering Coppell's broader outcomes. So the next slide, I will go into what the phase process is and more details into what a special district encompasses, but I do want to pause here in case there are questions so far. No. So it would be 3 phases. The most substantial work would occur during phase 1. This would begin now through the end of June of this year. And the focus of this stage is structure and framework of the proposed district, not the implementation. So council will provide guidance on defining the physical boundaries to be considered, establishing permitted use parameters within the special district, outlining the desired governance and oversight structure, and continuing public engagement based on the concept feedback. We would use this to draft the framework needed for the legislation. No legislative action will move forward without council direction. That is just phase 1. Phase 2 is where this moves into the legislative process. So this would begin in June 2026, which would be after the first round of elections at the state level. And this would be concluding at the end of the 90th legislative session, which is at the end of May of next year of 2027. This phase would include finalizing the proposed special district with the city attorney, and then working with our legislative consultants to provide the district legislation to our state representatives and senator during the summer. We would then need to publish the required legislative notice of intent in October And this is just announcing to the community that our intent is to file legislation for our city. Our state legislators would then file the bill during the filing period, and we would actively support the bill as it moves through the legislative process, including committee hearings, testimony, and everything else that comes along with the legislative process. Importantly to note, this phase does not guarantee approval. So we do have to essentially pass the bill in order for implementation to happen. So assuming that the bill is passed, then looking sometime around July after potentially special sessions would occur, this would be when phase 3 would occur, and this is the implementation of the district. So this would include coordinating the governance structure and then alignment with other city departments that will be necessary in this process. So that is a special district. That is the entire phase process approach. This is a mechanism that we can use to allow an establishment in Old Town that is not currently allowed without disrupting the broader TABC rules across the city. That is what I have.
Good.
Just a quick question. In your phase 3, the implementation established district governance and oversight. A little bit more clarity on that is, are we talking about like like there would have to be, I'm trying to think about like maybe, is it a separate board or something that has to be established to govern that? And then does the city council have the right to be that board?
Correct. So city council would set the direction for who would be allowed to be on that board.
Okay.
So yes.
But it is a separate
It is a
board and
separate
governance required for that district.
Correct. So this is a completely different purpose, but think of crime control prevention district. It has a board. So both districts completely different purposes, but same little bit of the governance structure.
Okay, thank you.
Ramesh.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So phase 2, for that to successfully complete, we are assuming that the bill gets picked and passed in the state legislature, correct?
Correct.
So, hundreds of thousands of bills are passed. So we have to work with our representative and senator to prioritize. Okay, so all of this is contingent on that bill being picked and passed. Thank you.
Do we know historically, kind of the rate of passage of this type of a bill?
I don't off the top of my head, but I can research them and come back. There is a current list on the comptroller's website of all the districts across the entire state. And it is a pretty comprehensive list, but I will look at the rate of passage.
So this isn't completely unusual. We're not the only people who are trying it. It's been tried and tested, and that's a good thing.
Correct.
It appears to me it's more about getting them to have calendars and getting them actually up for a vote, really.
Yeah, and quite frankly, having Tan be the one that's carrying the bill helps tremendously.
Easy.
Yeah, thank you. Question about phase 1. So the first one is define boundaries, permitted uses. The city council is going to make a decision on the boundaries. We'll have an options to present to the public 1 and 2 or 3. These are the ones we prefer, or it's one we make a decision.
I would say our starting point is what the council's already said. So when you ask for options, when Mindy had that map up there, if that's what you want to do, if you want to do something different, you're going to have an opportunity to tell us. And so that's all done in public.
Okay. So the map that is.
Yeah, the map that y'all went through last year,
right
right now, that's what we're using as the boundary. You still have an opportunity to say, okay, we want to do this or this. It's until you lock it down, it's not locked down.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
2 questions. Have there been preliminary discussions with our current sitting representative and senator? If there's, I know elections are going to happen, but are they currently on board with supporting this and carrying this for us?
Yes, so our legislative consultant, Jennifer Rodriguez, has had preliminary conversations with both Senator Parker and Representative Garcia Hernandez. They are just.
And so is the mayor.
And so is the mayor. Just dip the toe in the water of we're thinking of this. So. we have held off on saying we will be pursuing this pending further council direction.
Understood. And then second part of my question is, we establish, let's say everything goes smooth, everything established implementation, and then we still have, what is our, like, let's say someone comes in with a business and stuff, we still have the right to review all the zoning and stuff and make sure that it is the right fit for, it meets the requirement, but it's not like an automatic thing. We still reserve our rights to make sure the zoning fits, the use fits, the highest and best use, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know how in an ordinance for a zoning on PD or something like that, it says the language something along the lines of in accordance with all city da da da. Those are the kinds of things you actually kind of write into the legislation.
Okay, perfect. Just making sure that that's all above.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, so this would be an overlay, right? So with respect to the southwest area that was in red in the map, that's the tilt wall light industrial. Presuming that was ultimately included within the boundary, does the overlay of this type of alcohol-based, I guess, ordinance, does that constitute a taking in any way with respect to the commercial industrial use or light industrial use of those other properties? Or is this just something that just overlays on top of how they're already zoned? And
It just creates the opportunity for them to be able to do that type of use. It does not restrict.
it doesn't change their tax.
Oh, no, because you haven't changed the
Situation at
zone,
all.
you haven't done anything. All you've done is created it's an opportunity zone. And if you want to do these kind of things, here's where we would like to see those done. And, for future, if they're looking at marketing the property, now they have a whole nother opportunity that they don't currently have.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Any other question? Oh, Ramesh.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And Kelly, my assumption is, let's say we successfully finish phase 3. Down the road, if we want to increase the overlay geographically, do we have to go through the whole process again? Okay, so does it make sense for us to be not as conservative this time? We don't want to repeat the process one more time. I guess it's a comment for the.
Yeah, that's a question for
It's
y'all.
a philosophy.
Yeah.
That's all. I would say, should this idea want to pop up in another area in the city, it would creating an entirely separate district. So
Anything?
well, thank you very much. Matt Searle will present on the digital signage.
And this is one we are looking for direction on. So to set that one up. First of all, that we have everybody, we're educated on the district and we're good to keep moving down that path. There's nobody saying don't. Even if you did say no, and the rest of the council said yes, we need the majority of the council to say yes. Okay, so thank you. All right, good. All right.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, good morning. The purpose of this portion of the presentation is to ask for input regarding digital signage at the south side of the intersection of South Coppell Road, Main Street, and West Bethel Road. So in August 2018, staff asked council if there was an interest in digital signage at the entry into the Old Town project for advertising the Arts Center and marketing other Old Town events. Staff was given the direction to perform an analysis of the potential configurations and costs involved. After this was done, staff was asked not to move forward with digital signage. Then in March 2024, staff presented using digital signage in lieu of banners at the entries into the city. And staff was asked to move forward only with a pilot digital sign on South Beltline in conjunction with the South Beltline Road reconstruction project. So this has been installed and utilized for communication for city events, emergency notifications, and projects. Due to council's desire to activate Old Town, staff wanted to bring this concept before you. We've obtained an estimate at the cost for a two-sided digital monument sign in the medium of Main Street on the south side of West Bethel Road from the same vendor that constructed the Beltline Road sign. The sign would be perpendicular to West Bethel. It would have a 1.5 by 10 foot stone or brick base with the 5.5 by 9.5 two-sided LED digital display above. The cost is estimated to be $75,000. This is for the same resolution signage as the one on Beltline. And keep in mind that if we were to make adjustments to the resolution, that would adjust the cost. As mentioned, the sign would be placed perpendicular to West Bethel Road. This will have the greatest impact and will be most visible to the traveling public. You can see from the images on the top left what the eastbound traffic on Bethel Road would see, and the two on the top right, what the westbound traffic would see. In terms of safety, the sign placement cannot obstruct the views of the traffic. So the sign is proposed to be set back approximately 10 feet from the existing stop bar on the northbound travel lane, leaving an unobstructed view corridor for the driver without being set back too far to not be visible from the east-west traffic on Bethel. So whatever's decided in terms of design would ensure it's compatible architecturally to the amenities of Old Town. So an alternate design should also be considered. This would involve partnering with the Owners Association for a digital display on the grain silo located at the southeast of the South Coppell roads. So this shows that the view from the cars traveling south on South Coppell Road would now have a view of the sign, but the eastbound traffic on Bethel would not be able to see the sign when stopped at the traffic light. This would be a single-sided 8 by 10 foot LED mounted on the side that faces West Bethel Road. To be clear, staff has not had any discussions about this with the Old Town POA, and we would need to gain their permission before moving ahead with the plans if council wants us to pursue this option. The cost of this single-sided display is close to $50,000. In conclusion, the addition of digital signage will provide an avenue for marketing Old Town and advertising events in Old Town. This will also serve as a tool for alerting the public about emergencies and other public notifications that need to be transmitted. Staff's asking for guidance from the council on whether or not we should pursue digital signage at the entry. And the perpendicular monument sign is pretty straightforward. It's on city property. Play on the Old Town POA's property will require their approval. And if they agree to it, we'll probably have to give up some control on the programming to them. We'll have to work out the maintenance and other details. So we did reach out to their management company to find a local contact because Sean Hester has moved away, but we haven't heard back from them. So that being said, I'll leave it for questions or discussion. Mark?
So I'm noticing that this is a horizontal orientation, whereas the ones on Beltline are vertical. Well, how did you arrive at the decision of doing a horizontal one?
It was just an alternative design. We could go with a vertical one if you think it's more appropriate, if that's a consensus.
Okay, I mean, I don't know if I really thought through either the pros and cons of either, but I just was wondering if you guys had a particular reason.
Actually, I had mocked up both, and yeah, I think either would work. Sorry.
I think obviously being able to get the initial like Summerfest, it has to be wide enough to do a reasonably long word, but then all those images could be below, and I almost think you'd have more visual impact as you're driving either direction with the verticality.
Yeah,
That's my initial thought.
definitely it is an option. We know that the vendor who does the vertical ones.
Yeah, thank you. I prefer the second one because it's higher elevation. I know we need to get permission from the EOA and all that. But if you are pursuing option one or option A, I like the vertical signs instead of this horizontal signs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I may be off the left field here. I think if we're going to have a sign about Old Town, I would rather have it at the intersection of West Bethel Road all the way when it intersects at 635. So we have an opportunity to advertise to more people. Having it here, we are only focusing on Coppell residents who may already know this. I would say there's a bigger bang for buck if we take this out closer to 635 or 121.
Yes. If I could.
Sure.
So we do have the pilot sign on South Beltline Road, the one that's up already. And we have 3 other gateway signs potentially. I don't recall if there's
Those
one.
gateway signs, it's just a matter of y'all telling us to go. Right, so it would be, and this would be in addition to.
My preference is we focus on the gateway sign before we work on.
And that's what this discussion's about.
Yeah.
So for clarity, is it one or the other? Is that what we're,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. I guess Mark, I always look to you from a standpoint of aesthetics, functionality, how that all looks. And I guess all that to say is I would agree with, I'd love to know what that looks like from a vertical standpoint, what the height would look like and how that would impact the view when you go in. And I guess, and also just from the standpoint of how much can you see, because I do like the ones on Beltline. And I also think about the content because they rotate, right? Or do we have them? I want to say the ones on Beltline rotate because I see different things, right? And so just thinking through what am I like if I have a split moment, what do I see? What information do I get without causing a big distraction of having to like stop and read a lot? So if we could look into the vertical one and what that would look like width and height wise in that space, that would be something I'd like to see.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, I think it would be lower in height than the ones that are on the arterial roads to keep it pedestrian scaled.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that's the other piece. Sorry, thank you.
I like the idea of the sign, and I actually like the horizontal. For some reason, just the way it sits or the way it looks at this location, I like it better than vertical. Would there be a possibility, like if you did the horizontal, we could also work with the POA to do this other single sided that would get, what is it, southbound, South Coppell? See that? I mean, that
absolutely. Yeah.
Or
if we're given given that direction,
that would get all 3 directions and not be able to. I guess they're different sizes, but nevertheless, I guess that was my thought. And then my other thought is, I'd be curious about higher resolution than the one we have on South Beltline. I don't know. It may be too expensive, but I think we could improve. It seems like we could improve the resolution.
Yeah, the one on South Beltline's 8mm pixel pitch, and so if we go down to a 6mm, I think it adds about 10% to the cost.
Okay, I think that might be worthwhile, especially at this location, but maybe at all of the locations. So, I'm going to have to leave here in a minute. I'm in favor of moving ahead with digital side over here. Kevin, Jim's.
I was.
Actually, Don, great questions, because they were the ones I was gonna ask, so you obviously are big brain right now, so I appreciate that. No, so I was actually gonna comment that, I think that because there is more walkability in here, the increasing the resolution, I think makes sense, like with the scale that's on Beltline. I think the bigger is okay, but I would love to see a little bit more pixel density on a sign, so I like that. Um, Don, I also was thinking about doing both signs as well. I don't know. The only thing I don't like is you made a comment about maybe having to relinquish some control of some programming over to the POA. I'm not super keen on that. piece
Right,
of it.
that's not our property, so.
But
Yeah.
definitely understand, but so respect that. So I guess my preference would be I would like to see the left option explored first. I'm not opposed to exploring the right option, but or even doing both, but I would prefer that. I and Mark, since you said something, I would love to see a mock-up of the vertical as well. Just to see, like, not trying to get too granular, but I kind of agree with Mark's thought about I wasn't sure if I was going to be in love with the vertical orientation on the one on South Beltline, but I don't know if it's grown on me or if it just makes sense and stuff. But I'm thinking about like the marquees for the shows that are happening at the art center and stuff. It might scale better. Kind of be in that, I'm gonna say, more poster orientation versus horizontal. I know you can change the orientation of everything, but I would love to see options for both. But all that to say, I'm very much in favor of moving forward with this type of signage and I'll just say our gateway signage as well. I would love to continue to explore what this looks like. I think South Beltline was done well. So I like it.
And I would agree, I'm gonna pass it off to Brianna now, but I would agree that I would like to explore other places, maybe around the perimeter of the town, we could do digital signage and sort of sync up all the locations, so. I'll turn to you.
I have Ramesh, then Jim, then Mark.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Porter.
Deputy Mayor.
I know what I thought.
So, my concern is, I remember from previous conversations, we were arguing about what is old about Old Town anymore. And then we are now talking about new age, high-tech digital displays. So, is that still jiving with, the whole aesthetic of Old Town? That's one concern. If we do decide to go, I think the horizontal looks nice, with the way you've shown it. Um, my concern would be we have verticals and the horizontals across the city. Whoever is managing the display, now that's double the work because you now have to frame it one for vertical, one for horizontal. So that it might be a minor issue. Just wanted to throw it out there.
Thank you. Jim.
Oh, thank you, Brown. Hey, so on the very first slide, you had the horizontal with like a little bit more of a structure on it.
Yes.
No, that was from the 18 presentation. It was just more architectural, so it was just. We just brought that forward because many of you haven't seen that.
I thought it looked nice.
Yeah, actually.
It might also make it easier to see on a real sunny day.
Well, so that would add to the cost. In terms of the structure around it. At the time in 2018, that would have added about $50,000 to the cost of it. So, not where this design came from was looking at the George and kind of the brick that was associated with that and some of the columns at their entry. And so, I'm not an architect. It was just me trying to put some. Some.
He's
brick
going
to it.
like, you know. I'm sorry.
No, you're on a roll.
No, I was just gonna say, from what everybody said so far, it sounds like if I were to say there's a thumbs up for doing a digital sign. not unanimous, but there's a general consensus to move forward with this, the digital sign. Bring back a vertical version of it so that y'all can at least take a look at it. And it sounds like there's some interest to go and have Mindy at least a conversation with the POA just to find out, understanding that there may be some things that we may negotiate, like the only other kind of advertisement can be up there is it's a business within this defined area or something along those lines. Yeah, just as an example. But that's what we're hearing so far.
Well, I like the horizontal one. I don't really care to have both of them. We might want to think about asking the POA what they think, just because some people might see this as a further intrusion of modernity that they don't particularly favor. We might want to at least solicit their input before we go forward. That's all I have.
Yeah, I mean, if it's an either or, I mean, I would say the one on the left, is the route to go. I would be interested to, pursue the option of doing the second one. And seeing if that's even a possibility, you know, and then it comes down to dollars and cents and do we want to spend that additional money? But yeah, I think it would definitely be a bonus, so.
Just for clarification, that was the vertical option on the left as opposed to the horizontal, or?
The vertical option on the left, but then the one on the right is kind of a bonus. I mean, I think we definitely do, however we end up, whether it's horizontal or vertical, we do that one on the left.
So you want two signs?
I mean, that would be the preference, because you know, just having one single one on this on the building on the right would not do anything for the traffic obviously going the other direction.
Making sure people can see it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, gotcha.
if we lease the space from the POA on the silo, then we could control the content,
That's true.
right? I mean, that we would only have to share content or clear content if we co-owned it. So we could look at doing it, setting it up as a lease, and then it would just be, we'd be leasing that small part of the silo for our side, what we wanted to put up. So I don't think we necessarily have to share content.
I just want to point out that I definitely think the left one's a priority because the traffic count is like double going side to side based on some previous report versus the South Coppell Road. So I mean, that just from a practicality of getting more eyeballs on the sign, the priority definitely, in my opinion, should be the left.
Matt and Mike, do you feel like do you have the direction you're looking for?
We would walk away from here with I'll call it an A and B option for you to eventually thumbs up, thumbs down, one of those two. With the understanding there's some design work that would need to be whatever you choose in terms of the architecture that supports it. And that we will have a conversation with the POA and just report back to you about what their interest is. And based on that interest, let's say they say yes, then you can up or down, okay, pursue that with the understanding that there may be either a lease of the space or some restriction. Those are the weeds that we will have to work out. So that's how we would walk away from this conversation.
I just have one final question about, I know it was part of the bond money package with South Beltline. Do y'all have the number of what we were all in on that sign, cost wise? That was like 150, 150, something.
I think it was 150.
And that
We'll confirm that. Yeah,
and
that's
that
the whole
is
thing.
installed with like that,
The architecture.
that architecture kind of whatever is around it and stuff.
You remember that? Does that sound right? I think it was 150. We'll confirm.
Okay. Obviously, that
That's
thing
what I
is
remember.
pretty large. So, okay, thank you.
And here, okay. Oh, sorry.
That's right there, it's all down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, now we get to talk about Old Town. Yep. Oh, before we get to one Coppell.
So
Old Town.
we asked Mattia to go ahead and go because
Okay,
we weren't sure where everybody was gonna be and how long all this
Yeah.
was gonna take.
what's in your bag, and then everyone grab a shirt. It's for one Coppell that we'll talk about later. So we're
We'll bring
only-
her back for a work session.
Yeah, so, so Old Town.
You want me to take it?
Yes.
I figured that by you looking at me. All right,
Yeah.
so the best way to set this up, I think, is with the prop question, the prime pumping question that we gave last night. It'd be really nice to hear from you about how you define success. And I know that Ramesh has a 9-point plan. That that others may have other point plan as well, as far as defining that success, and I think that will help us and will be responsive to
And then, yeah, being mindful, right, and being mindful of, what we talked about, executive versus open discussion of what's our vision, what does success look like? Anybody wanna start? Kevin?
I'll go for it. All right, I've got a couple of categories, to kind of, people and activity. I think, in just kind of broad term of defining this is an increase in daytime foot traffic, driven by, on-site offices, nearby employers, things like that, residents. Evening foot traffic is the second one. Drawn in by restaurants, art center, programming, and destination retail. So increases in, and I think that I broke those out because I think that those are different categories. I think you have different audiences for those. So trying to increase both of those, but they may take different approaches. Looking at the art center attendance, what's the total attendance at the art exhibits, the shows, the different programming that we have, and then I know we also have the private rental side, and so I think we're on a path to that, but just what does that look like, and how does that contribute to the overall foot traffic? Something I thought was interesting was average dwell time. Increasing the average length of time visitors spend across shops, food, and public spaces might be interesting. So how long, not are people just going there, are they going there and hanging out and spending money? I think that's something we could use to define success, and increasing that. And what are the draws to get people there and increase that? And then something called visit conversion rate. So percentage of visitors who enter a shop, restaurant, coffee shop, or the art center. So let's say that we've got something programmatically going on down there. Well, does that convert to actual visits to the retail? So are we getting conversions? Not only are we driving them down there, but are they going in and shopping and visiting and things like that? So I think looking at those kind of metrics, and so defining success would be number one, identifying what the baselines are, and then obviously increasing those over time. Economic performance, kind of a category, kind of breaking in daytime and evening. What are sales generated? What does programmatically, how can we support those types of things? Office driven spending capture, estimated spending by on-site office workers within the district. So we have, we have the CPAs, we have so what is that? Is that actually contributing at a moderate level, decent level? And if we continue to have some of that being a part of the overall district, can that continue to increase foot traffic and sales in the area? If we have any idea of what is the revenue generated per square foot of occupied commercial space. So kind of getting an idea of what people are spending, and then could we incentivize, could we encourage businesses that come in with maybe higher ticket items, so people have more variety, and they go down there and generate good money because it's not a cheap area. So are those businesses properly supported? And then is there a financial return from our our programmed events and what is that, events, exhibitions, and just programmatic stuff. All right, and then my last area was community impact. Number of participants in art classes, the workshops and the community driven stuff. Are we still driving people down there? Is there opportunity to increase traffic down there? If we increase that, does that again translate in those other areas? Frequency of repeat use by nearby workers and residents during lunch and coffee hours. So do people just come down there once, or do they come down multiple times? If we can increase, and I think that if we increase our variety of what is offered down there, if we have more restaurants, more retail, I think that we can increase that. And then obviously the tax revenue generated by that Old Town area activity. I think that's a way to define success, is increasing that overall tax base in the city. So lots of thoughts, lots of ideas, but a lot of it is kind of like establishing baselines and then increasing that. So that's kind of my thoughts on different categories. Absolutely. I will say this, full disclosure, I put my thoughts and I'm like, I got all these thoughts and I put it right in the ChatGPT and it made me sound really smart. But absolutely.
Mark.
Well, I think the way council defines success is by responding to the needs and desires of community. And we have gotten a great deal of feedback of the desire to establish more retail, more nightlife, and if we use the vehicle that has been discussed of a special district, this would be a real key to establishing that. And then by doing that, we are going to be able to eventually drive foot traffic. But I think what that special district does is it will attract retailers and restaurateurs to want to come down there, and for there to be more places for people to visit, and it becomes much more activated. And so there's that synergy that occurs. And as we have events on the square, we have events at the Arts Center, all those work together to give what the people are looking for. But it also yields additional tax dollars, which is beneficial to the city. And it also helps to support the existing businesses that are downtown, and then help them flourish. And then we can hopefully attract more of what we're looking for down there. But I think that first step is establishing the special district.
Anybody? Sorry. No,
Want to-
no, go ahead. I was gonna comment, but go for it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Now, I was not smart enough to use ChatGPT, so my thoughts might be a little bit not as refined. So if I agree with what Kevin and Mark said. Definition of success is, are we delivering what our residents are asking us? And I think we are at an Andy Brown moment here, back when the mayor decided 1/3 of the city is going to be residential, 1/3 commercial, 1/3 park. Think about the vision there. He decided, or the council then decided, 1/3 of the city will be non-revenue generating. And I think that is one of the reasons why Coppell is such an amazing place. People want to live here. people like those open spaces. So I believe we are in a situation where uh, we are the only group that can set a vision for Old Town, where we have an this special zone that we can have where people can go hang out, and the residents have asked for it. They want more restaurants there. They want the alcohol rules to be relaxed there. They want more entertainment options, and that is the only place that we have in Coppell that is prime for us to execute on that. So I'm thinking that we should, definition of success is we give the staff an 10-year plan, and then we don't want to get into the execution part of it, but we tell them, hey, this is our vision. Year one, we want to see this. Year two, we want to see this, so on and so forth. So to me, that would be a success. And I want to aspire for our old town to be as good as South Lake Town Center. Definitely beat those, lakes up and come Cypress Waters. Every time I go there and I see our Coppell residents spending money there, I feel like, what did we do wrong? Why don't we have something like that? I mean, and their land space is not bigger than Old Town. But they have been successful. Well, I think they've been very successful. I think step one, we should beat that. And we need to, a success is if we are targeting our residents that are spending their discretionary dollars in any of those places like South Lake, Grapevine, Frisco, and Dallas. If we can get half of them to think of Old Town first, to me, that's success. And when we do this, we're obviously going to increase the tax revenue. Going to improve the quality of life of our residents. It's going to be a revenue generator. And I'm a big believer that we already have a lot of open spaces that is available in Coppell. I don't think we should convert the East Pad into another open space. I would prefer that it be a business where we get sales tax revenue. And my sixth point was, I think, as Mike had said earlier, the city people have to do some investment. And I am all for public-private partnership and letting the market decide what works or what does not work. But even to incentivize a successful restaurant to come in, the city should be open to giving them tax rebate, and so there is investment involved. I don't think we can have success here with the $0 hands-off approach. So I would encourage the council to be open to investing some money. And I think we should be attacking it in phases. I think city staff is already working on that. We should look up the entire special district, including the land that is in front of the senior center. City already owns it. So we should be not just looking at the east pad side, but that land as well. And then we should be going after businesses that reflect our Coppell values. And then finally, I want to conclude by saying that only the city council can set their vision. And right now, Old Town is the best opportunity for us to execute that. So if not now, when? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have anything before I comment?
Comment away.
Okay, well, I know that from time to time, we've heard people around the table say, what are we trying to fix? Mark, to your point, and Ramesh, we also ask people, what is it that they want? And that's kind of why we're serving in this position. And I kind of written down like 3 questions I thought it was important for us to answer, and there might be more. But for us to answer to help provide staff some guidance. It's a little bit, kind of what we're trying to do. I mean, I think the special district, it sounds like, needs to happen for there to be something different, right? So I think the first question is it like, does Old Town need to be something different than what it is today? I think we need to answer that. Like, are we good with where it's at, or do we need to do something different? If we need to do something different, then what are those building blocks that we need? Special district being one of them. I think the other one being, do we need to expand the area of what we define as Old Town? And if so, what does that look like so that staff can look at those pieces of or parcels of land if there's something more, like when we think Old Town, does it need to be more than what it currently is? And then the other one is, are we willing as a council to invest in Old Town? And what does that look like? And it could be in any number of ways, but are we willing to spend? And what is our return on investment? What does that look like? And I think those three pieces kind of go to the success of Old Town. When I think of success of Old Town, I don't see Old Town being South Lake. And no, I'm not trying to disagree, but Old Town has its own flavor, its own culture, vision, feel of what it was and what it is and what it can be, right? Like, I don't know that we can attract the amount of like retail that Old Town has. That's not to say that it's not possible, but thinking through just having Grapevine and South Lake and Highland Village and other areas around, well, what are people looking for when they're in Coppell? We've really built an arts district in that area, right? So having the arts center there and having the farmers market and the different events that we bring to Old Town. I think what I'm hearing from people is we want more from the standpoint of other types of unique shops like Let It Shine or Jakarta or other places that we have that are just different and unique that you can't find, that are almost like a Main Street Grapevine, but yet in a different type of landscape per se. They want to be able to walk around and they want to go to George's, but they also want to go somewhere and grab a sandwich or a soup if they're not grabbing a burger, right? They want to have options. And so what does that look like so that we can be a thriving town? I will admit that it really got me thinking about Old Town after, and I told Mike this during our break, that it really got me thinking about Old Town when Mike said yesterday of like bringing ICMA board and, and people saying, this is great, right? You've got places to shop and have coffee and do things. And so in their eyes, they see it as successful. They're not there on a daily basis, right? But at the same time, we're doing something well. So how do we build on that and be unique in our own way? I think the other piece to it is we can't undo the housing, right? The residential there, it's done. So decisions were made, it's built the way it is. So how do we work with what we have, right? And Cypress Waters has been very successful in what they do, but that doesn't mean that we can't be successful as well and help complement, right, in the with the other surrounding areas. So I guess the first question I would have for the group, if anybody wants to go, or if anybody else has any comments on just when you think of Old Town from an area standpoint and an investment standpoint, where do people sit on that? Like, are you willing to expand? Are you willing to invest? Kevin?
Question, Mike, I know one of the ask was on direction, according to like adopting the special district is defining what that area is. So is this something that we are planning on revisiting in the next couple of months where you get a, okay, and the reason why I'm asking is like, I didn't know if you wanted this group today because you showed the maps and we've talked about it before to give you direction today on what the geographical area is, because I know that that's a piece of what you need. And it kind of ties into Brianna's question as well, so.
To answer the question, because in the past few months, the comment's been made about, what is the area defined as Old Town? We just want to remind you, this is what you told us last January.
Yes.
That was not the lockdown on what the boundaries are, but that is our starting point for what the district's boundaries would be. To Callie's point, you absolutely will have more conversation around that, and there was no expectation today that you were going to, we didn't prepare you to be prepared to have that kind of, and y'all need preparation so that you can start wrapping around. And we'll get the questions to you in advance, so that you can, if you're gonna debate it that way, you're gonna give thought to it.
And so I just want to make a comment that, and I think may have been you, Ramesh, alluded to. I actually like the idea of just to answer your question, Brianna, kind of that with that expanded area that was in red, I believe it was in that southwest corner. Because it provides maybe future flexibility to, if, maybe we get the overlay district in and we get a company that wants to come in and do a brewery type thing or something like that. Well, maybe they could use some of that existing tilt wall and less, you don't have to raise the whole thing and start over from scratch. So I'd love to be able to kind of start with that and kind of have that area kind of defined as what our Old Town area is. I think the other areas that are identified make total sense. That kind of play within the bounds, and then we've got open spaces. We have the pad site, as you alluded to. We actually kind of forget about it sometimes, but we do have land in front of the senior center that could potentially come into play. I know that there's that balance of green space versus but it's still there. We have the on the corner of Beltline, or I'm sorry, of Bethel and Old Town in the entrance where we just talking about the sign. We've got some empty spots there, and so we've got some spaces that we can develop. Mark, with what you said, we give them a reason to come, right? You put that overlay district on top of it, and wow, Coppell's allowing something new and exciting. I think that could be a spark of a different type of economic engine and do some different things down there. So I think that's all very positive, and I think we're all moving in the right direction because it opens up opportunities that haven't been there before. But then I'll also kind of comment to the conversation we had earlier about the regional activation with a regional event that Mindy discussed. I think we got to get the word out. Like, we just had people from around the country and the world come in and say, "Man, you guys have a great thing going on here." And I guess the way that I look at it is that in the past, Coppell has kind of been like, "Hey, we're going to do our thing, and this is our bubble, and we want to do it." If we can open it up to and let the region know, "Hey, we got some great stuff going on." I look at success of Coppell as let's do more of already the great thing that we have going on with some of the enhancements of the overlay district. And I know I threw down a lot of metrics and stuff, but all of that goes to increasing foot traffic, increasing transactions, increasing business, increasing tax base. That's all it is. Let's give something that let's put more down there, more variety, where people are want to go down there and they want to hang out and they want to spend money. That's what I define success as in that area. It doesn't, and to be fair, I actually agree with Brianna. I don't want a South Lake Town Square down there, and I don't think that we can. But in concept of having an area where people want to go and hang out and have lunch and buy stuff, I definitely agree with the types of shops like Let It Shine and Jacaranda and all those shops. People love those shops, and if we could have more of that, I think that we could have a lot of success down.
Ever mentioned the gym?
Thank you, Brianna. I think all the city council members are extremely careful about being the financial stewards that we have. I we all want to be really careful in how when city finances from city money. Now, a safe approach is not to do anything. And we have tried that for many years and we are not seeing new businesses that want to come there. So it's like a chicken or the egg situation. We need to increase the footfall for who are successful restaurants to come there, but to increase the footfall, something else has to happen. Given that we've not been successful when not investing, I would argue that maybe this is a time for us to invest. Now, with investment, there's always a risk. If we can come up with a plan where we say, hey, let's say I invest X dollars, I expect to see, a Y return. And, we may not get all of our investment back, but if we are able to jumpstart the businesses and an economy in Old Town, in the long term, I think that will be a good investment. I think what I want to conclude by saying is, I think now is the time to invest. If we keep waiting, we're going to be doing what we have been doing the last 5 years and have the same results that we have seen the last 5 years.
Jim, would be good.
Okay, so I actually see Old Town as a pretty big success. For years, we were looking at senior housing and having alternatives for downsizing. And that was what, as I understood it back in the time, I was president of the Economic Development Foundation. So I was actually reviewing and signing the contracts with Yancey Development for the city. And at the time, I understood that we were looking at, it was a completely different type of housing. Coppell didn't have any zero lot line homes to offer. They were relatively upscale, relatively, kind of luxury type of appointments and finish out. And even today, one of those goes on the market, it sells very quickly. So in terms of, you're looking at, was there a market for zero lot line homes with an upscale bent? The answer is yes, and it's persisted to this date, where they're still very popular. They sell like hotcakes, and people are now even you're seeing small families move. So that's a success. We have one of the best, most recognized farmers markets in all of North Texas. It gets a lot of great press for Coppell. It brings a lot of people in from surrounding communities. And it's really done a lot to advance kind of our profile and our image as kind of a family-based, wholesome, healthy community. I think that's very successful. We have an arts center that's getting plaudits from everything from D Magazine to, the artists that perform there. For the most part, we've kind of gotten into a groove as to what offerings are more successful than others, what price points work, that sort of thing. As an event rental, it's caught fire. The thing's busy pretty much all but 10 days a year. And the event rentals, I don't know that we ever really saw that coming, at least not on the scale that we've experienced. So that's a tremendous success. We had a developer come in wanting to look at some raw land where the old church was. One of the things he said was that he'd commissioned some study, and I don't know how good the study was, how reliable it was, but he claimed that he put 6 figures into the study, and that the best thing to generate foot traffic for restaurants and retail was office. So when you look at Cypress Waters and you look at the retail and the restaurants that Lucy's put in there, the Nokia buildings for that year were the largest commercial lease in North Texas. So, she's got on the border, she's got all sorts of huge corporate buildings that are dumping thousands of people onto the street looking for a place to eat lunch, to buy some wine, whatever. That's exactly what the developer that we had looking at some property down there at one point tell us was what he was told too. And you see Billingsley replicating that in terms of how she's developing it. And of course, that's a master plan development, 25-year build out. So, you know, what, 1,750 acres. And, you know, she started with a blank slate. So she's got, even around the sound, Old Town 40 years in there when she got started. That's not our situation. And when we did the study with the retail coach, you know, one of the big points that they made was that, you know, the bulk of the commercial restaurants aren't going to look at Old Town because we don't even have the minimum traffic count that their franchise agreement would mandate before they would agree to locate any one of their restaurants there. So you're really looking at either a small, privately controlled or family-owned business, which is George, which is Let It Shine, which is Tangerine, which is The Collective. Everything we have there right now is the kind of development in terms of commercial development that is organic in nature, that is also not subject to those kinds of larger commercial impositions and requirements. So, you know, we've got a little bit of space left to play with. You know, all the financial advisors from DSIC to the Dragons, they own those properties. They've developed those properties to accommodate the use that they have for them today. So when you walk in, you have a lobby area, you've got some offices. You know, those aren't even set up to be designed as retail. They don't have a grease trap. So they can't even be used for any kind of future restaurant. They're high-end construction, high-end price points. They're all very nice appointments and everything. So, I mean, I think the diet's cast. But from the standpoint of having those kinds of businesses, we're very successful. We've attracted, you know, nice businesses that have spent a lot of money on their office space and are very happy with it by all accounts. The pavilion is a beautiful structure that we use for all sorts of things. So, you know, I think part of the problem that we have, and the reason this is so frustrating for us as a group, is because we're trying to imagine an Old Town that doesn't exist and is not going to exist. We're not going to have a sound like restaurant entertainment district. It just, there's too much invested in the dirt and the buildings that are there already to turn that around. I mean, is it on a 50-year scale? Okay, sure. What, you know, but everyone involved in real estate will echo what one of my old buddies from college's grandfather pioneered, which is it's location, location, location. This is an off-track, off the beaten path location. You have to really look for it to find it. And that's going to be very limiting in the kind of development that we can expect. So, you know, we have some wonderful public, like the Sunset Socials, the live music offerings we've had in the square. Those have been fabulously successful. They're very well attended. You know, I think most of the people that go are probably from Coppell, although we're drawing people from Grapevine and Louisville and some of the environs. So everything we're doing out there right now really is successful. The frustration lies in, but why can't it be different from the way it is? And there's been tens of millions of dollars invested in what we have. And that's not good. You're not going to turn that ship of state around in 5 years or 10 years and end up with something different. So, you know, I like the idea of being very aggressive and partnering with professional restaurateur family, if we can find one for the pad site we have. I want to be very aggressive in supporting the restaurants that we already have there, including George and Twisted Root. I like this idea of doing the district overlay. And, you know, Kevin makes an excellent point. One of those light industrial buildings on the southwest corner could become a craft brewery at some point, you know, if the, you know, overlay was in place allowing it, the special district was allowing it. That's certainly possible. So I'm in favor of what we're proposing that we can do, that I think are realistic. The special district supporting the businesses that are already there, supporting the farmers market, which is one of the best in North Texas, supporting the arts district and the arts center, which is one of the best in North Texas, supporting the residences and making sure it remains, a place people want to live. Because we've made a huge commitment to people that have already bought those homes as residences. And to the extent we can generate some more foot traffic and encourage some additional retail, sure, that's great. But I think we've got to accept that it's going to be the kind of organic development that we have there now. And it's there now because that's what was suitable to this location in terms of what we've been offering. I don't think there is a magic wand that we wave, that we wake up and there's all these really fun bars and restaurants and we're drawing people in from Main Street Grapevine. I think there's some of that in a small scale that's possible. But I really think we should begin by celebrating the success that we have. And I think that's, in my opinion, that's what's been lost. We have a very successful high-end residential area that offers a housing stock that doesn't exist anywhere else in town. We have some organic businesses that are highly successful. We have a farmer's market that's highly successful. We have an arts center that's highly successful. And we have a commercial office environment that, by all respects, is itself highly successful. And so I'm not all that frustrated by what we have. And I'm not willing to foreclose encouraging, another restaurant or two, or a craft brewery, or, some of this other, what would still be organic development. It's got to be that entrepreneur that steps up and says, I think if I put in a full-scale pub here that's family friendly with a lot of comfort food, that's open till midnight with a lot of TVs for everything from the Masters to March Madness, I think I can succeed. But that's an entrepreneur that's looking at everything but the traffic count and everything else that every commercial restaurateur is going to require before they drop a dime in capital into any of that dirt. So sure, I want to encourage that, but I'm perfectly happy with what we have because in every single element of it, we are succeeding. We don't have any vacancy rates. We don't have any boarded up offices. We don't have any boarded up restaurants that have opened and closed. We're doing really well. So if there's some way we can encourage that around the perimeter or on the, around the edges, I'm all in favor of it. And I've been willing to, I've offered up, I'm willing to be very aggressive and let's go find that restaurateur, that entrepreneur to come in and sell them on, there's some real opportunity here. Let them see the survey results, let them see what we have to offer. Because I think at that point, we might get a fish on the hook. But I just think we need to be realistic and not be quite so impliedly critical of the tremendous success that I see in place already.
Yeah, thank you. In my opinion, the success in Old Town is in two parts. First part is what we have there today. City of Coppell invested millions of dollars in Old Town. I'm going to read some of them, and Jim already cited some of the things. We invested money in Coppell Art Center. We invested money in Coppell Historical Museum. We invested money in Coppell Farmers Market. We invested money in having a family events like vintage holidays, experience, and community gatherings. We invested in Kaleidoscope for arts, music, and food trucks to come together for the public. Square at Old Town. Main Street Interactive Fountain and Playground. A lot of money invested on all these items in the city of in Old Town by the taxpayers' money. I'm borrowing some of the words that Jim used. We have a success story in Old Town. what is the next success or improving from what we have today is the question in front of us. How much money are we willing to invest for that future, increasing the foot traffic, that more people to come and enjoy? That is somewhat questionable to me. That Mike mentioned, do you want to cater to only Coppell residents or more a regional approach or regional attraction to Coppell? That may provoke more thoughts about what are the things we can do to bring regional attractions. You mentioned ICMA, people coming in and they made opinion about shopping around and so on and so forth. If that's our goal, then we may have to invest a lot more money if that is our goal in that limited space we have. But we did discuss about the districts overlay or redefining the district. I think that's one way that we can move forward to increase the foot traffic. We also talked about private public partnership. That will increase more foot traffic there. Encouraging restaurants and cafes to stay open later. That will bring foot traffics there. Pop-up food vendors or brew wine nights. That will increase foot traffic. More year-round events, music nights, arts walk, food festivities, themed markets. That will increase foot traffic. Collaborations with the local arts and performers through Coppell Arts Center to keep the visitors around during the evening hours. All these enhancements or improvements will bring more foot traffic. The question is how much money more taxpayers' money needs to be invested to bring this improvements. That's the decision I think present or current city council have to make a decision. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Go to the press.
Well, no, I mean, I'm curious what you're thinking.
No.
Or, well, and I don't know if it's on me, but, because it sounds like we're defining success a bit different across the table, which isn't bad, that's why we're here, right? But I don't know that we're all on the same, how do I say, in sync as far as what do we do next, right? And so, Kevin, maybe.
I just, one thing that I heard, I mean, there's a couple, like, district good. Like, so I mean,
Yeah.
we were very,
Yeah.
I actually heard multiple times people say that what we're doing is good. And so kind of enhancing the path that we're, like, I heard what we're doing is good, maybe do more of what we're doing. Trying to simplify a lot of things that you said. I actually agree with that. It's and with the understanding that the district is going to bring new opportunities if that gets passed through the legislation and stuff. So I don't think that what I heard was I don't think that we're too far off in the sense that, like, I think people recognize that there's a lot of positives. It almost just seems like we need more of what we're doing to increase the foot traffic and take advantage of the new opportunities that the district might provide. Understanding that's going to take time to work that through the legislature and stuff like that. That was what I heard.
And I appreciate that, Kevin, because I think you're right. I mean, from the standpoint of what I appreciated was the fact that we all agree there are successes already happening in Coppell. And so we are doing some good things, right? How do we, as they say, enhance, augment, as you mentioned, Kevin. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Brianna. And Jim and Bijou, thanks for reminding us. I mean, Old Town has been successful. I think it's checked the box on a lot of good things. At the same time, we have this La Ventana restaurant that is not open for a while. We have those mixed use properties where what I'm hearing is that it's not fully occupied. And we have this East Patch site that's a city owned that we have not had interest. So I think I see a problem out in the horizon. I think if we don't do anything now, we're only going to be in a worse off position potentially. I think there's an alignment here in this room that we should do a little more. And then I think if I can paraphrase what Kevin Biju was saying, question is, what is that more? I think we need to give some direction to the city staff on what we think collectively as a little more.
And I think that's absolutely right, on the what is the more, and so. Special district, right, and maybe that is a good place to start, because that opens up other doors. I don't know, Mike, as far as what more can we as a council provide you and your staff on next steps? Because, right, we could come from a standpoint of things are going well, right? We know we can do a little bit more, and we can do something to support, and we can continue and grow the activities, and maybe we do look at that regional event and we figure out what that looks like and what that means. And then continue to figure out, it's a supply and demand, right? Scenario of what does that mean and what do we need to do? The other piece, the other extreme is aggressiveness of we need to go and look at infrastructure and investing in other areas or whatever it might be, right? However we want to define what that aggressiveness is. And so I don't know that we've provided any more direction than we've done in the past, unless you have heard something different. Yeah.
So, like the special district, I think is a great idea, but one of the areas in Old Town that's not even truly been considered Old Town, I think in the past, that might benefit the most from that is going all the way up north on Coppell Road. I mean, Clay Phillips always had the phrase that, eventually the dirt's worth more than what's on top of it. And that's how you get property redeveloped. And you look up going up Coppell Road, and there are some older structures and some raw land that, could be encouraged by the special district that we're considering. So, I mean, that could have, a real positive long-term effect on the development of the larger area. I'll confess, I'm not really familiar with the little green belt up there on the north area, or the little park area that kind of spurs out to the right. Yeah, is that like just a little urban park kind of thing?
Park, Hunterwood.
Yeah, there's some trails back here and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was there. So,
We're having to do drainage work up there.
there you go. Well, but I think the special district can bear a lot of fruit for us. I think, looking at being aggressive and recruiting some unicorns might be good. So I'm in favor of that sort of thing. I just think we should temper expectations about, in terms of talking about a South Lake or Main Street Grapevine or a Sound. I mean, those are very, very different locations, very, very different developments than what we have. So I don't want to judge, are we successful based on, how do we compare to South Lake in their town center or the Sound? We're condemning ourselves to, I think, something that where we're just they're apples and oranges in my view.
Mark.
To follow up what Jim said, I mean, I think expanding the proposed district to encompass as much as we think is reasonable. We definitely want to do that, because this is going to be probably a one-time thing. So why not capture as much area as possible to allow flexibility potential redevelopment down the road, whether it's 10, 20, 30 years from now. And then the other thing that I think the visual Ramesh mentioned was, keeping that east pad site available and not building that proposed structure or covered area there. And the more I think about it, I think I'm with him because and we sold off so much of that property and allowed things to be developed. There's just very little land down there that we could still encourage some of these things we're talking about with the special district. But I do like the enhancements that were kind of proposed in that corner. We've got a very large lawn area and it's utilized, but some of those shade structures and seating areas that were proposed in that plan, if it could be incorporated into the lawn area, kind of out on the perimeter, with the festoon lighting and the shade structures. I think we can kind of get the best of both worlds, but without giving up, the things that we do on the lawn, which one is, we do have bands, and I think that concept that we were shown actually had a stage kind of as a backdrop in that corner. Consider doing that type of thing on the space we already have. So, and I hate that that's giving staff completely different direction than we've given them for, and I know Mike's head is probably spinning. But,
This is not The Exorcist.
But when I think about what we can potentially do down there, I don't think we want to do things in any different, Jim. I fully agree. I mean, I think we just want to do more of what we've been doing. We're not going to be a South Lake, and we're not going to be a Cypress Waters. There's not a lake there. That's the draw to people. It's to sit out there, on the patios of these restaurants and overlook the lake. So we have to have a kind of a different focus. And then going back to the regional activities, I think that's a really good idea. And if we could somehow incorporate it with exhibitions that we may have in the art center, when we have an opening of some sort of a particular artist or collection of artists, that is synced up with that regional event. So it puts on display the art center, its capability, and then also people become familiar with, that, hey, they've got a fabulous building here that offers lots of activities, and it's put some more free advertising. That's all.
I like that idea.
I was just kind of, I was looking at the map. I know we're not making any decisions on the map or anything, but, kind of talking about this, Mark, I just want to say that I hear what you're saying. I think you're on the right track. I think this is a really good talk just overall. I think we're finding that maybe we've got a lot more commonalities than we think we did, just in terms of, what we want to do and scale, and I really do think we're moving in the right direction. But it's kind of looking. I'm sorry. Let's stand up. Just kind of looking at if we're going to future-proof areas. I had a question about this area right here. This looks like it's Lock Lane.
It's residential.
Yeah, residential area. is that just, was that just excluded specifically just because it was existing residential that was there? I didn't know if there was any reason why that was or wasn't included in that, because I'm thinking about future proofing, right? If we talk about future redevelopment and things like that, it's kind of looking, kind of going up all the way. I know there were some comments about wanting to take it further north on Coppell Road. I mean, that's existing residential as well. So just trying to understand, there were some comments about wanting to take the proposed boundaries up. Any reason why we would want to go west or try to get closer, there's that warehouse right there that I don't, I can't remember what's there, but taking things more to Freeport. Just on that, I'm just thinking out
I
loud.
mean, it's just a line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in support of that.
I've always been very supportive of like trying to take the district more towards Freeport, because I think that if there is any future redevelopment, having that district touch Freeport does increase traffic counts and does give us opportunities to, I know, Jim, you made your comments about like, the retail, like not quite hitting those numbers, those traffic count numbers, but Freeport does offer better traffic counts out of all the roads in the area. So I think it would be a good plan for us to try to move the district west a little bit more, just to try to future proof that area.
Anybody else? Good.
Well, if you did include that neighborhood immediately west of zone 4, I mean, you would make it possible for someone to come in and aggregate the properties with an eye on, developing that entire parcel.
Mhm.
So, whereas if it's not included in the district, like Mark said, it's kind of a one-shot opportunity. We're not gonna want to go back to Austin to add a little area.
It probably wouldn't happen in our lifetime, but. One
I don't
day,
see any
we're
harm,
supposed to be forward thinking, so
Yeah.
if we're doing it.
And that's exactly where I'm coming from, is that if we can get as close to Freeport as possible with as much frontage to Freeport as possible, I think it might set up councils for future success when more redevelopment comes around.
I think one thing I'd like to ask, Mike and staff is, okay, are there any insights to including those additional areas? I mean, I don't think there is from the discussions we've had.
I appreciate it when it's a line on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
With an idea of what the opportunities, it's really about the opportunity. Because we kind of hear it on Bullock and Howell a little bit. You might have some of the residents, I mean, this will all be a public process, but you may have some residents that say, you know what, we like our homes and we don't really want to see it changing or anything along those lines. So it's more respectful because it hasn't been something that's been discussed. So it's just, it's more of the public process. But from our standpoint, they are lines and it is about opportunity. So as you view what the opportunity looks like, it's no different than, this coming year, you'll be going through the comprehensive plan update. You can be having this same conversation whether or not you had a district or not, as far as potential future land use, right? So I hope I'm answering your question. It's what do you and the community envision for Coppell's future? That's what this is about, right? And so the more creative you are at this point, the more flexibility you give yourself and future councils and the community to do things. I forget who it was. I think you mentioned, a third, right? So that was a direction, and we have what we have, and a lot of people love what we have. That doesn't mean that prevents you from doing something that adds to that next layer, or the next elevation of the community. And so that's where you get to have the big dreams.
Yeah. So if there is no negative impact, then I would like to see those lines drawn closer to the Freeport, including those distribution centers. In future, they may go out of business, that land will become vacant or whatever, you may be able to use that on the Freeport side all the way.
Talking about what is realty, when you say that.
Both sides of Freeport.
Yeah, both sides of Freeport. Which I thought that's what we had talked about at
Yeah,
one
so
point,
from here,
Ah,
all the
I
way
got you.
to here,
Yeah,
the
right?
whole area.
yeah.
Because if what Kevin said is right, then it's going all the way to here, right? So the whole area.
Gotcha.
Right,
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then I think the question on top of that, sorry, beat you for you, John, I didn't interrupt.
Yeah, that's all, that's.
Okay, yeah. Well, and I think we. And not in a collective conversation, but. That those ideas have been brought up, so I mean, that might be something we're all aligned on. Hey, let's look and see what that looks like in the future. Right, as well as what does that do for. So Freeport being the front, I mean, kind of like the big entrance, yeah, and then what does that do for Bethel? And is there anything we need to think about from an infrastructure standpoint? For capacity down that road?
I'm just going to shoot for the moon and say,
As you should.
let's cover the realty and the warehouse on top, go all the way up to Freeport. And I would say, let's look at the areas to west of Freeport as well. Shoot for the moon.
The post office,
The Kroger Training Center.
Yeah, that's it.
Not become part of our
And
district
then
conversation too, right?
then there's the postman.
Yeah, okay.
Mike, does that then become part of our eventually district?
Yeah, I mean, that's not part of the conversation.
But at least we've opened up the conversation of we are interested in expanding area. Yeah.
So in zone 2, where you see senior center, directly above that, there's kind of a thicker yellow line. Where is that boundary? Is that on Bethel Road? Is that north of Bethel Road to include, like, I think the shop is, I think Tattered Style is there, and where exactly is that boundary?
The boundary for Jacaranda and everything's right above the word Bethel. It's further to the left. That's residential across the way.
Okay, I want to make sure. So
I mean, the road is the boundary up
this
until
is
it's not.
this Jacaranda over here?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so this is all this house right here.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was.
And there's a couple of little small office type houses that are on that 6 that's not part of the drainage.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure
It could have been just included in 6, just as frontage to, it's just, if it's got some drainage.
I just want to make sure I was oriented correctly about what was in there. The shades kind of throw it off.
So can I
Yes.
answer your question?
Yes, yeah. What are you hearing around the table?
I get to do what y'all do to us. I get to defer. I think I need to take back all these notes and process. I did hear there is a desire for more of what we're already doing, which will have a dollar cost associated with it, which then you have to determine, is that the investment that you want to make? Other than that, and maybe some playing around with some boundaries, other than that, I'm not sure I can give you clarity. But I can compliment you on, you are starting to coalesce around certain ideas of what success is. So I think there's some positive movement for us. But still the clarity, let us work a little bit, and maybe we can come back and say, okay, this is what we heard, and here's the questions we have related to what we heard.
I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that, because
the refinement of the question
Right.
will help you even further define.
then you can come back to us and say, this is what we think we heard, and if we're not on the same page, tell us now.
These are questions that we've generated as a
Right.
result of the things we heard.
And then I'm wondering too, if there's, as we think about the special district and what we have heard from citizens that they want there, and what we think we want there, if there are opportunities for us to work with our current businesses and restaurants that are there now to start trying some of these different things. So for example, I just asked Jim on this, sidebar was like, do we have any live music down there? Like Twisted Root used to,
We asked that question
right? And they
specifically.
used to, and they haven't, and so
And
maybe that's something.
the previous owner did, they haven't. since
They
the
haven't, and so, I mean, we talk about like things we want in the live music and opportunities to go and find some adult beverages and whatever it might be, right? Brewery, winery, whatever that looks like. But is there anything we could try at a small scale now with what we have there to start drawing
And that's what I say when I say more. So
more of what we have? Yes.
It's, that more will cost.
Oh, agreed.
And I think I shared with
Goes to
you,
the
we've been
investment.
talking about getting in the business of programming. But we're gonna need some assistance. We set aside funds, wasn't it, in the last couple of years to do it, and we've been hesitant to do it, based on previous input that we've received. And we can bring that forward. It just, from a capacity standpoint, we're gonna need help. That's why it's gonna cost. That's what we can to you.
Thank you, Mike. And so before we, just to make sure we don't have anything else on here, but does anybody else have any comments on success and or vision or success and vision for? No. Thank you. Okay. We're not.
yeah, one Coppell we just delayed just because we just figured, given the time and how long y'all spent. So then the question becomes, do you need it on a executive session?
Oh, yeah, that is a great question. Do we need to go back into executive session? Is there any reason for us to do that and close out the conversation we started at the beginning of this meeting? Thoughts?
I don't have.
No?
I don't feel like it.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I think we should, just to close the loop on that, because we are not given direction to the city staff. I think it's upon us to tell them what it is.
Do you need direction from us today?
I'd like to go into executive session.
Okay. So
Yeah.
with that said, then we will need to, do I have?
I have to put your page over. No, there you go.